Thank you, Panos. By the way, I just was going to compliment you. You know, you're the ARC original tech director, and remember, I think maybe it was our 10th ARC meeting that you were coined Noah. Well, today you could have used the boat because the traffic. I was just saying, I thought I was in Alabama. I couldn't. Everybody going 75 miles past me with zero visibility. I can understand why everybody was late. It was outrageous. So welcome. It's a glorious day. 20 years. It doesn't seem like that, but. I have some slides too. I'll go through those quickly, but a few reflections like Panos. Certainly people are a big part of it. If you think you needed to join the ARC to make money, forget it. But I didn't care because the Army was the main recipient, and once you charge up faculty members, I hate to use the term because I am one now, you get a lot of free work. But it's work that you really believe in. The other thing that was an earth-changing, in my opinion, mechanism with this ARC is 20 years ago, relevance was a distraction to most research projects. And I'm saying that facetiously a little bit, but relevance, you know, we stayed pure to our requirements, but we needed the Army's mission to be advanced. And in the Quad, the industry's mission was advanced because they also got the benefit through their, we call it value-added content, got the benefit of the research activities. And so relevance and technical excellence, research, technical, scholarly excellence was a game changer for this center. It seems like, and we had such a great, by the way, Jeff and we lost our DOE. Where's Pat? He's off to another briefing. Jeff, I was taken by the game, you know, your major bets. And in 1993, they were exactly the first three quad chart. You know, the intelligent vehicle dynamics, the human-based engineering, soldier, driver, whatever you want to call them, and advanced materials and structures. Right on, 20 years ago, without any strategizing. So I don't want to say you copied.
That's okay, I copied well.
Another interesting thing, I had a great chance, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I had 40 years with the government, last 15 years as chief scientist of TACOM. And I was involved in something called the BRAC process. I think you're aware of, that's when you shut down bases. And they went through that shutdown recently. And one of the major reasons that TACOM is still there, not just because of the ARC, but in general, because the location being centered in the central core of the universe, the automotive universe, kind of the Michigan location of Tardec, and the fact that right after World War II, the reason that they were placed where they are is there was a huge commission of auto CEOs, Ford, General Motors, Chrysler. At that time, there were more auto companies, thought that that would be a good use of taxpayer money, having the synergy of relationships. I worked at Ford. We did a survey for the BRAC that 50% of the engineers at TACOM had spent time at one of the automotive suppliers or OEMs. Back and forth, I mean, that's the way to transfer technology. The same thing with the Army. The Army transfers, you know, when I was there, we transferred technology by ultimately proving a disruptive technology discovery, which is what everybody wants to, but making sure that it has some roots in the sponsor's heart, in our heart, because we took keeping soldiers' lives intact sacred. And also, I don't know if you heard Jeff's comment about we don't want a fair fight when we don't want to lose anybody, and we don't want to lose any skirmishes. And so overmatching is not unfair, it's required. I think somewhere along the line that occurred with this center, the relationships with industry, government, academia, with students. We used to have a term, throwing the dissertation over the wall and saying we transferred the technology. You heard Paul Rogers say that there are individuals with the Army, there are individuals with industry that actually implement. That's unfortunately or fortunately why the auto companies have downsized significantly their corporate research centers, because there was never anything transferred. I spent some years at the scientific lab, call them Sci Labs at Ford, and I remember to this day, you know, there was no mention in the plan of transferring the technology to, at that time, the divisions. And that's changed dramatically. The centers are cooperating also in 20 years ago. How many DOD cooperative programs do you think there were? 0. Because everybody protected their budget. They thought that they needed to justify unique features, and none of it went to their sister organizations, when in reality everybody lost by that approach. Academia lost, industry lost, government lost, more importantly, the country lost. So it's been a grand play. I'm sure it'll continue. What has been incentivized to all the Quad members, in my opinion, why it's a win-win situation also, is because it's not so much the funding supplied by the ARC, it's your credibility, your seed money generation, and all of our universities that have even touched the ARC in general have expanded dramatically in their core funding. And that is a benefit to the Army, the benefit to industry and academia. So I'm going to just go through. There's Dave Gorsuch, as was mentioned. He could be legitimately called Grasshopper at that time. And you'll hear from Christophe Pierre. This is when he was still a Hollywood movie star before he got old. No, you look better. You look better now. This may be, we've already talked about it, but the relationship of people, the fact that our original scope of thrusts basically has stayed intact for 20 years. Not only intact, but has been accepted as gospel by highest headquarters. No, I'm just, it was just an interesting synergistic time, and it was something that most of us still hold in our hearts to this day. I'm from Wayne State. I've been with Wayne State for almost 35 years, either as an adjunct, but more recently, since I retired 6.5 years ago. But the synergy of a urban research campus with a heavily loaded graduate department has, and with significant research dollars as well, not Michigan standards, but by state standards. The University Research Corridor of University of Michigan, Michigan State, and Wayne State comprise about 95% of the externally derived federal dollars in the state. Have a huge medical school. Most of the folks involved are first-timers, usually first-generation degrees. And by the way, a statistic that was true when I was at TARDIC, and we did the survey for the BRAC, is we talked about the local automotive culture and the student body deliverance. And when you combined all the ARC schools, they by far provided a majority of the students that were hired and used. This is just some, but and the same applies to the University of Michigan, but at Wayne State we're a stone's throw away from their GM Central headquarters at the downtown area. Ford Motor Company's 15 minutes away. Daimler, very close. Of course, Taycom, really against traffic, 20 minutes away. Chrysler headquarters, of course, this is right in the backyard of U of M. Toyota, not so far, except when it rains like this morning from Ann Arbor. And of course Nissan and Honda, and all of these comprise to talk about the proximity of the people relationship. Most of our work, and you talked about Professor Heineen, has revolved around his Center for Automotive Research, which was established 30 years ago. And so Panos is quite right. We put together complementary members on the original ARC team that have stood the test of time. We've added some great ones over the years, but
I'm sorry, I have to rush you.
I'm just about done. You saw what luck you had with Paul Rogers, right? And of course, Panos took a lot of time because
he gives us the money.
All,
I don't know if I can.
all the tears. You never know as you go through life who will give you the next dollar. Center, all right, I'm 3 minutes, I'm going to go through the rest of them, all right? 3 minutes. The Center for Automotive Research is deeply embedded in education that supplies both industry and government, especially in the automotive area, with courses. We have a number of test facilities that have produced studies with both the ARC-related programs and others, and certainly externally funded, and it just been in existence for cooperative reasons between industry, government, and academia for over 30 years. Partners, relationships, this could be ARC, CAR, the automotive centers at Clemson, Virginia Tech's automotive centers, but in any event, there's always a tight tie with education and students and providing activities. We're particularly active with those 3 universities and certainly have a lot of access to federal organizations other than the defense sector. And of course, geographically as well as culturally with respect to employees that feed the industry, the automotive industry, and the government, we service those quite well. Engines and propulsion, we've been in the thrust area 4 emphasis primarily and proud of it for a long, long time. These are some of the research projects that we're particularly consistent and, in our opinion, of high quality, producing great results. Not surprisingly, modeling and validation and experimentation go hand in hand. And with all of our exercises, we validate. We never fool ourselves that the model is smarter than the engine. We assume that the modeler is not as smart as the engine, and ultimately adjust to the real world boundary conditions appropriately. That may, for researchers in the room, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, it's not important. Same thing here. Hannah would be happy with me. I had 3 movies to show in this slide.
There's going to be an entire case study about this. Whoa. So we will see.
All right. All right. And of course, in the area of low temperature phenomenon, which is particularly an Army issue of cold start and that kind of activity, we have had a lot of pathfinding research, both optical engine research as well as validation approaches, and we published a number of papers in this that got the gold standard award at 2 or 3 Army science conferences. Thank you very much.
I think we were talking yesterday about how the ARC is not just about the research that we do, but the opportunity for people to grow. And it certainly was